ask any of us during the demo. I love questions, please ask all of them. But even after a demo, you can ask either me, my name is Jonathan, this is Garrett, that's Garrett, that's Miguel. And then those two groups that just kind of branched off, there are also a bunch of returners as well. So feel free to, there's a lot of us here that have done this before, and once you get your first tree down, the rest of it's gonna be so easy. So if you guys didn't hear, we have about like 12 trees today. We have 3 different varieties. We have the Cercia lancea, which is African sumac. We have an Indian hawthorn, majestic beauty, super extra name for a super extra type of tree. It's actually very, very pretty, has really nice flowers. And then we have an Australian Brisbane box that's like down the street, down this way, for you guys to plant too. So we got a lot of good varieties. You guys see a good variety of trees. Yeah, you guys can sign in over that truck over there.
Or actually, I guess we can watch the demo first and we'll just handle it after this.
Oh, you want to do that first?
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, right.
And Miguel, do you want to give them an overview of the project?
Yeah, for sure. So we're here today, of course, thank you to the Cal Fire grant that we did end up receiving. The reason why we were able to get funds to be able to get at least another 1,000 trees here in the Southeast LA area. So just here in the city itself in Inglewood, we're going to be planting 1,000 trees. So, but however, we are actually finalizing our tree planting season today. Just that we are going to be continuing our planting season, I think in September, like late September, give or take. So yeah, then comes the fun part, which is tree cakes. I mean, what's the point of planting trees if you were not going to take care of them and making sure that they stay alive, right? But yeah, that's the reason why we're here. And how, I mean, I know many of us have the question of why here, why specifically in this area? I mean, you're feeling it now. It's like barely 9 and guys already starting to feel like the heat that's here, right? For the same reason, want to make sure that all the canopy is basically here for you to be able to diminish all this heat that we're feeling right here, because there's something here called the urban heat island effect, which the surfaces are basically twice as hot as the actual temperature. For the same reason, there's like a lack of canopy and there's a lack of shade here in this area. For the same reason, we want to make sure to replicate. I don't know if you guys go to like Pasadena or like the north side of LA. That's more cooler. You feel like it's cooler because of the shade that's around you. The same, we want to replicate what's over there over here on this side with the trees that we're planting. But of course, each tree, we cannot plant like any trees here. Some people does have the argument of like, yeah, we should just plant native trees everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, but if you care about like your sidewalk or your homes, because they're basically going through the piping, the sidewalks, all that stuff. Now, I'm not saying that native trees are bad, just that you need to know what tree to put in what place. So for the same reason, this is the reason why we pick these certain type of trees, because they're good for this type of environment, which is like the parkway, the wires, and the pipes that we have here as well too. But other than that, I mean, I just want to thank all of you so much for coming. I really appreciate each and every single one of you, because I mean, I know it's hard to get up in Saturday morning, you know, because I mean, it's a weekend and we just sometimes just want to stay home. But so yeah, and I thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, you guys are helping your community, I mean, in like the fastest way you can, it seems like, basically. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, and
Thanks for organizing it.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, we couldn't plant all these trees if it wasn't for volunteers. If it's just like 3 of us,
We'll
do it.
we'll do it. Give us like a few years, and maybe we can do it. Well, you guys help. We can probably hopefully get this done within like a year or 2.
Yeah, we're always starting new projects. Like we got a couple more grants coming up, so.
Yeah, so more opportunities for you guys to volunteer, help out more of the greater LA area. To put into scale as to what how we're doing today, what we're doing today. 12 trees, like I said, to put into the bigger scale of what this project is. We're planting around 1,000 trees here in Linwood. So every single tree that you guys put into the ground today is one step closer to the grand goal of 1,000. So you guys are part of it. You guys are part of the journey right now. So thank you guys for all coming through. So let's start. Let's get started. Yeah. All right. So we have here our site. Some things to take note. We have markings right here. There's that yellow one. We have one that's a white one right here. And I went around and I spray painted a circle to where I want you guys to dig. The reason why I want to make sure these marks are known to you guys is because these marks are how we indicate our sites as well as what kind of things are underground. We work with the city to try to get those markings in to see, like, for example, this one shows that there's a gas pipe that goes straight through here. We don't want to hit any gas pipes. We want to make sure that our work here is the most beneficial possible for the residents of this area. So I want you guys to be cognizant of that. There's like a water mains. You'll see some water blue marks. I've already checked it all for you guys, and I made those circles. You don't really see them on my hole anymore, but if you look on that hole or other like Like further down holes, you'll see circles, like a white circle that's around there. That's a perimeter as to how far out you should be digging. And then
Yeah, don't worry about the water and gas stuff as long as you stay in the circle.
Yeah, just staying within the circle. You guys are good.
And weight 2 feet.
So in terms of depth, depth is going to be where this this lip right here, this very top part of the bucket, has to be at least a little bit level to the grass layer right here. The reason why we're using this as our metric is because it's the exact same bucket as we use for our tree buckets. We reuse these guys like 6-7 times. We have too many of them. So yeah, in terms of if I'm digging, like if you're thinking like, oh, I'm digging forever, I feel like I'm digging like all the way down to the core of the earth. Just double check yourself. Put this guy in here. See how far you guys need to go. I'd rather you guys be a little too deep and a little not have enough depth. So, but keep it. The key of it is to keep it around like this little rim right here.
And then in terms of wideness, you want to go, you'll see why in a second, but you want to go a little wider than the bucket all the way down. Keep your walls as straight as you can so you got enough room to kind of compact the dirt as you put the tree in.
Yeah, wideness, we like I have the spray paints for you guys to see your perimeter, but to put in perspective, you're going to pretty much put your fist around the edge of your bucket, and that's kind of the width. It's around double the size of the bucket. We do this in order to give this tree as much real estate as possible in its new home to allow it to grow out more, have its roots kind of open up more. We'll see in a little bit. Right now, the roots are kind of like this. They're like a fist down like that. They don't, like they're stuck in their ways. This tree's been here for probably like close, maybe like 8 years now. So it's stuck in its ways. It doesn't want to come out. Doesn't want to see new things, see new friends. And what we're going to try to do with this process is open those roots up so that they can kind of branch out, see their new environment, and appreciate their new real estate.
So this tree is 8 years old?
Usually they're around, like when they get transferred to the 15 gallons, they're usually around like 5 to maybe like even 15 years old. So usually when we get them, they're around the 8 to like 12 years old usually. Like Garrett was saying before, we want to make sure our walls of the hole are straight down. If those of you who are kind of on the outskirts want to come closer to kind of get a better look at this, you're welcome to. So we're very particular about how the size of the hole and what the hole kind of looks like, just because it is one of the main things that keeps this tree alive and gives it the highest chance of survival after we're done planting it. So we want to keep our walls straight and our bottom flat. We want to make sure that it's kind of like a cup shape, like a U shape, not like a V or cone shape. The reason why we do that is because if we put a tree in a cone shape, it will actually not go all the way down and it'll produce this air pocket right here. Roots of a tree or roots of any plant don't like two things usually. They don't like open air, being open air, and being in direct sunlight. And so if we put the tree down in that cone shape and we have the air pocket, it's going to be exposed to that air. It's going to be away from its soil to where it gets its nutrients from. And we don't want that. And all the water that we put down is going to go straight into that little bubble, and it's not going to go to the tree itself. So we don't want to deprive the tree of its water.
A good way to keep the walls straight, if you're struggling with that, you can kind of set the point of the shovel on the edge of the hole like that. Take your foot and just kind of go down.
There you go.
Shave off the side.
Yep.
But you'll see when you dig a hole. Everyone's got their own strategies there.
Yeah, and then to make sure that your bottom is nice and flat, you can go ahead and like Garrett's doing right now, just jumping in there, stomping on it, do a little dance on top of it, and there you go. Any questions for the hole? Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So let's now we have the hole ready. We have our site. Let's talk about the stuff that was on the site specifically. Now that we have dug this hole and we took it out. So we have here our tree. We have here our mulch bucket. It'll come in handy later. Inside of the mulch bucket, there's going to be a tarp in there. That tarp is useful for 2 reasons. One reason is to keep all of our dirt that we dig out onto that tarp. It's very important. We want to make sure we keep these parkways nice and clean as we're going through our work. And the second reason why we do it is to actually help us backfill it afterwards, and actually really good and useful for that part. Outside of that, you'll be having your tools with you. There's two major tools that you'll be using today. First one's going to be your shovel. Everyone knows what a shovel is. Everyone's seen a shovel before. Pretty easy how you use it. One thing that I want to note is when you are holding it, and when you are walking around with it, please do not do one of these. I know we all have seen the movie Holes, and you see people doing like this a lot. We don't want to like walk around and smack someone in the head with that. We don't want that. Another thing too is when you are putting it down, please avoid doing it like this. Reason why you don't want to do it like that, because if you step on it, we've all seen cartoons. I've seen people do it. I've done it before, and it's not fun. I will laugh at you, I promise. I'm sorry. But please, when you are putting your shovel down, make sure that it's laid side down like this. That way you can step on it and it's not coming at you. We don't want tools hacking us today. The second tool that we'll be using are going to be these guys. This is a steak pounder. That's what we use to pound the steaks in. It's a heavier tool than it looks. And so when we are using these, please use caution, and we always want at least 2 or 3 people to be around when you're using it. But I'll show you guys how to use this in a little bit. So that's it for tools. Let's get this tree. Woohoo! Woohoo! Alright, so this tree, like I said, has been here for quite a few years. It's stuck in its ways, it doesn't want to come out. We have to try to coerce it to come out. And so one way that we do this is we're just going to use the back end of our shovel, this guy right here, and we're just going to hit the bucket itself. We're going to loosen up that soil. Those of you who are around this side, you guys can kind of get a glimpse of what it looks like right here too. Make sure there's no one behind you, make sure there's no one like around you, and then just go at it. Don't be afraid.
It's nice to lean it up against your pile here so that the excess dirt kind of falls already onto your pile.
Yep.
It helps a lot.
Then we
Few
see
smacks.
you're gonna give it a couple smacks, and then your partner's gonna twist it, and how Garrett is right now. We saw some dirt coming out, that's what we want. So this is a good time if you have any like frustrations, any you know, you're stressed out, you know,
Anxiety.
you have anxiety, you know, like someone cut you off in traffic, it's LA, I get it. You have school stuff, you have paper, it needs to be done.
I know that coming out.
I feel that too.
Yeah, maybe one more good one.
So you're gonna hit on the sides, get all the anger out, and then you're also gonna hit it on the bottom a couple times. The bottom's gonna be a little awkward.
Oh yeah.
Good. Alright, that should be good. Let's try it out. So when we take the tree, we want to pull the bucket away from the tree, not the tree away from the bucket. Wording is very specific. Reason being is because we don't want to pull like a carrot, because all those roots, all those sensitive roots are going to get ripped out from its base, and we don't want to put the tree in more shock. So we're going to pull the bucket away from the tree itself. So how we do this is Garrett's going to hold the tree.
Just a firm grip on the tree. You don't have to really pull too hard, but just don't let him pull you. So
Yeah, and then I'm going to lift this bucket, and I'm going to do a little like washing machine. Shake it up a little bit. And then there you go. Bucket away from the tree. And now we have here our root ball. I'll give you guys a little adultology lesson right now. So there's two parts of the tree's anatomy that we want to keep in mind when we're doing this. It's very important. The first one is the root flare. Second one is the root ball. First one, root flare. It's where the roots it's where they flare up. And the root ball, it's where the roots it's where they ball up. Pretty easy to remember. So we see here that the roots, like I said before, they're like a closed fist away. They don't want to get out. So what's Garrett doing right now, what I'm going to do right now too, is that we're going to give this tree a little massage. Just the weekend, you know, treat itself.
I know, right?
We're going to open up those roots a little more. By just giving it a little massage like this. We can see here that there are major roots that are here that are big. We can see that they're spiraling. We don't want them to spiral. We want them outwards. So what Garrett's doing, what I'm going to do, we're just going to find the ends of these roots and pull them out, kind of like this. So now that they're out.
you don't have to do too much. Don't go too hard with it. You know, just give them a little bit of extra space so that they know they're, you know, in a new spot, ready to move out.
Yeah.
Don't tear at them or anything.
And once we have like majority of it out, then it's good to go. Right now, the tree, since I said before, it doesn't like two things: sunlight and open air. It's supposed to both right now. So right now, the tree is actually holding its breath for us. And I don't know how long you guys can hold your breath for, but you know, I can probably do like 30 seconds on a good day. Right. So let's try to do this real quick. We're only doing kind of slow with this just to show you guys the process. But usually it's like boom, boom, boom. All the roots are out, or most of the roots are out. We're ready to put the tree in. So now Garrett's gonna go ahead and put that tree in. And I'm going to measure this out to make sure that we are level using our shovel. The same process as when we ever put the shovel down in general, lay it side down, like this. So this is the reason why I want to talk about that the root flare. The root flare is actually very, very important as to how deep the tree is going to go. So we see here the root flare, you can see it right here. We want to make sure that the root flare is at level with the grass line. So at level with our shovel when we put it down like this. So as you can see here, we're a little under, right?
Yeah, a tiny bit. Yeah.
Tiny bit under. So when you have it, it's a little bit under. You can just pull out the tree again, and then we can put some dirt in. You can use some of the dirt that it came with, like bringing stuff with it to a new place. Use your hands, use your feet, use your partners. And then whenever you do put new soil or the soil back into the hole, we want to compact that soil. Make sure we don't have any air pockets in there. All right, try this. Ooh, nice smell. Yeah. So this is kind of what we're looking for. If you guys want like an example, right here, let's right level. Put a shovel down, nice flat, and we see that the root flare is right underneath that shovel, nice and level, perfect. And the second thing you want to look at when you're putting these guys in, we're looking at the canopy. You just want to kind of give yourself a mental image as to where this canopy is going, to put your guys' intention in the right spot. Our goal here is to make sure that we are providing shade for the resident itself. So if anything, we want the shade to kind of go like this, kind of like hug the house a little bit.
And take up as much horizontal space as you can too.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that we're going like a fan, not like a shark fin, because the fans will actually block out the sun a little more than a shark fin. But once we have that all ready to go, we see that our hole is good. See that our orientation is nice and good too. Now we can start backfilling.
Some of our other trees have a little bit more clear of a canopy. This one's kind of, I don't know, all around, omnidirectional.
Yeah.
Really, I don't know. Maybe
majestic
none of the
beauties.
ones we're planting today, but there's some crepe myrtles and
yeah.
stuff that we plant that it's really clear where the branches split off and which direction you can put it. These ones are a little more, you can kind of just decide. But
And so as I'm putting soil in, every so often, whenever there's like around a layer of soil being put down, we're going to stop putting soil in, and our partner is going to go ahead and go in there and stomp on that soil. Make sure it's nice and compact in there. And then I can continue on my way. Something to notice while I'm putting in this dirt is that I separated. We see here that we have a nice grass layer here. I want you guys to separate that grass layer from your dirt pile. We don't want the grass to go back into the hole because it provides that competition that we don't want for the tree. Keep going.
there's some on the back here.
Any questions so far about this whole process?
When do you water the tree?
So we water them, well for today we're watering them right after we're planting them. We actually use these 3 buckets, it's about 15 gallons of water. But in terms of our watering schedule, as usual, we're actually transitioning to tree care, which means now we're going like full water, making sure we try to get every tree at least once or twice a month.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't require too much water like we talked about a little bit before. They're obviously adapted to similar conditions like from South Africa, like we said.
Australia.
Yeah, or Australia for some of the other ones. But yeah, so obviously in the winter when it's not as hot, we don't need quite as much. So that's when our planting is done mostly, and they have more time to establish themselves before it gets super hot out. We do some watering over the winter. You know, if we have an off or a day where there's no planting, or we don't have to prepare for something else, or go mark out sites or something, we go take care of the trees, take out old stakes, do the watering, stuff like that. But once we get into summer and late spring, it's like all watering all the time pretty much.
Yep.
And community outreach, which is another big part of what we do.
Alright, so now we have majority of the dirt on there. In order to save some time, we're gonna use this tarp. We're gonna do what's called tarping it. We're gonna grab each of the corners. We're gonna bring our tarp over to our tree, and then just dump all that dirt right on top of it. All good. Alright, so now we saved ourselves some time, and now we can get to the process of making what's called a berm. Does anyone know what a berm is?
It's like little mounds around it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little mound around it. It's like we like thinking of it kind of like a bowl. It's like I said before when we were talking about the water, we're talking about 15 gallons of water. To put that in perspective, a normal, like a usual person, usually uses around like maybe 17 to 18 gallons of water when they take a shower. Unless you're a long shower taker. That's another thing. But the median is probably, or the average is usually about 18 gallons of water. So that's a lot of water being put onto this tree. We want to make sure that this tree has exclusive rights to that water. So we make this this bowl. This bowl made out of dirt. This is where like your sandcastle making skills come in handy. That's why I was hired, you know, like put it on my resume. In terms of how the berm should look, we want, instead of making like a clam chowder bowl where it's like up and down straight, we want to make it more of like a slow slope, kind of like a ramen bowl. It'll hold the most water and it will protect it from the most erosion factors.
Yeah, I like to make mine especially kind of gentle sloping. I think it makes it easier to water, and like you said, it protects it from erosion. You know, if you water a big thing that's really nice and steep, like 3 or 4 times, eventually it's all gonna wash out. So I just make it so that it's already kind of pre-washed out and nice and wide, so that it'll fit a lot of water in it.
And then as I'm going in here again and stomping on that on the soil, you can hear that I'm actually sinking as I'm doing this. This is why this is so important, because if we have those are all air pockets that we're creating when we put the soil down. So that's why I want to make sure that we emphasize just putting your heel in there, really smashing all those air pockets.
And the berm doesn't really have to be circular, you know, it can be really any shape you want. We're planning on a lot of 3-foot parkways across the street. This is a 5-foot parkway, maybe a 6-foot parkway.
Yeah.
So obviously you're gonna have less space, so maybe you'd want to make your berm a little bit more elliptical. You know, it doesn't
like an
have to
egg
be
shape.
necessarily a circle. So.
Yeah, give it a little character, a little personality. All right, so now we're gonna put in our stakes. We have here our 8-foot stakes.
Yeah.
8-foot stakes, and we're using this tool, the stake pounder, to put that stake into the ground.
This is what we present our CrossFit gym team.
Yep.
Yeah.
New program that we're working on, you know, CrossFit treat people.
This is probably the most strenuous part after digging the hole. Maybe some people would say more so than digging the hole. So be careful when you're doing this.
Yeah. To where Garrett was putting the stake, we usually use our foot as a measurement. We want to stay away from that root ball and try to hit it as much as possible. So I'm just gonna put my toe over to where the trunk's at, dig in my heel. Where my heel is at is where that stake's gonna go. Just like that.
By the way, we do have hard hats of anything. If you guys think pretty
Get more
protection.
comfortable, yeah.
You see here that Garrett is angling it towards me. I'm gonna put it on here. Yeah. So this is welcome to our gym. Some key things to keep in mind when you're doing this. This is a heavy tool, and you are going to be putting it over your head. So please be cognizant of the people around you, of what's around you. There's cars, there's people. Be careful. Always make sure that you are taking breaks. Make sure you are taking turns. And above all, don't forget to take a breath when you're doing this. All right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Take a break, take some turns, take a breath. That's
Yeah,
good.
man. Get on the workshop. All right, so what you're gonna do is that you're actually gonna lift this up, and it's gonna let the weight of it come down and pound it in. You can put your own weight behind it if you want to, but it's a little more work. So up to you. However you feel.
And my job while he's doing this is holding it straight, making sure that it's going kind of straight in. I can tell him to stop, and we can adjust if we need to. But I'm just kind of holding it while he's going up so that it comes right down. And I'm also at the same time pulling the tree away, so he's not hitting any of the branches and breaking them off while we're doing this.
Yeah, so this is why we want like at least 2 or 3 people doing this at the same time, just because we need multiple people to be kind of helping the person who's staking or stake pounding. So usually there's 3 people. One person will be holding it, one person staking, and the other people, or you guys for example, are making sure that this is going in straight down. Where you guys want this to be is that you want the stake to be around a handful of a way down from this stick right here. That's how I usually do it. So we need a little bit more probably. Alright, that should be good enough. Alright, so when we're removing the stake pounder from the stake itself, 2 people. 1, 2, 3, up. And then bring it down, careful whoever's behind you, and we're on to the next. Anyone want to try? Let's go.
Saving me my work today.
Yeah. Alright, so I put my toe and my heel right here, so go ahead and measure that out for me.
How long do the stake, you keep those in the ground?
That's the opposite end too?
Yeah, like right there, perfect. Go ahead and angle it towards Garrett over there.
Are they there to protect it, basically, or?
So these guys are here to make sure, because we are going to take off this nursery stake, and so these guys are acting kind of like braces for teeth. So as the tree is growing and growing, before it gets established within 3 or 4 years, if the wind is pushing it for whatever reason, it might end up going like this, or going any other way. So we want to make sure these trees are going nice and straight up tall.
At the same time too, like no tree is really gonna grow straight up like this in nature, right? Like obviously a nursery's been taking care of this tree for a long time. That's why it needs the stake, that's why it needs these other stakes. So it wouldn't grow straight up like that, but that's how we need it for the street. So.
Yeah.
All right,
How long do you
anytime
keep
you're
the stakes in the ground with the tree?
ready. And don't lift too high.
Forever?
No,
Because
4
you
years.
go
4
up
years?
top. So, yeah, there you
While
go.
the tree.
You adjust your grip as you go down.
Yeah, I usually say
Good?
put your
Yeah,
grip around where your head's at all times.
Does it look straight over there?
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
So far, so good.
Yeah, just so you can't go off the top.
There you go.
My first day on the job, I hit myself with one of these by going over the top of the stakes. So do be careful.
Yeah, it does happen.
How does it go? Just so you want to be about even with that other one. So I can't really see from here, but you got
Like
another
3 more
inch
hits.
or two, yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Nice.
All right, that's
And
pretty
then
good.
grab that first.
Fantastic. Nice work, man.
Thank you for your help, man.
Awesome. So if anyone needs help with staking, please ask, what's your name?
Leon.
Leon, please ask Leon only, not us. So now we have our stakes on. We have our tree braces on. So now we're gonna take off the nursery stake. It was good with what Will's doing, but now that we have these guys on here, it's time to upgrade.
Another thing you want to do, more air bubble stuff or air pocket stuff, make sure that, you know, you kind of created some space with the stake as you were putting it in, so just kind of fill that hole back in with your hand or with the handle of your shovel or something like that. Just kind of compact it around, stake and plate a little better.
So I cut off all those little green ties. Any of those green ties or any kind of like trash or anything like that can be put in where a tree came from. We use that as our like kind of default trash bucket as well. Recycling again. You can also put your grass also in there when you're done, just to make sure that's nice and clean out of here. And then we're gonna pull out our nursery stake. So it's kind of easy to take out, only if you're worthy, of course. You know, just shake it around a little bit, pull it out, like that. So now we have here the air pocket, the mortal enemy. So we don't want that to be there. So we're actually going to use the stake itself to compact that soil back in there. We're going to grab some soil from around, put it in there, do some of your berm. And then once you have a good amount of soil in there, then you can start using your stake and start pushing it in.
It seems that there's a root right there on my side. Is
one
that
there?
okay? Is that,
So if you see any roots that are kind of outwards, like that, we're actually going to want to try to cover those guys up too.
We're going to put a bunch of mulch on top too,
So
so that'll help protect it, but no, that's a good idea. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you're
that's a good
absolutely
idea.
right. We definitely should be covering that.
There you go. Perfect. All right, so now we have our stakes on here for our tree. Now we're going to tie them on. So Garrett, do you want to show them how to tie them on?
Yeah, so you're gonna get 4 of these guys. They come a little stiff, so you want to stretch them out. Make sure you got enough slack here. We'll take the first one. One end is gonna be like a hole or a loop. The other end is gonna be straight like that. You're gonna take the end that's a little rounder as opposed to the end like that, this side. And you're gonna put that touching the tree right underneath the canopy.
We can do both of them.
You're gonna take it like that. You're gonna cross it over before you get to the pole. And then you're gonna tuck it into itself right there. Boom. That's the first one.
So the second one, my little sister here is going to demonstrate to you guys.
Oh my goodness, you got the stuff to three.
So there you go. There's the first one. It's going right underneath the canopy, and it's crossing over and looping into itself right over there.
You're gonna interlock it like this.
Second one goes through. One end you put through, and then kind of the same thing. Soft side touching the tree.
Go ahead and figure eight it,
Figure 8, or cross it over,
and then buckle it like a seatbelt.
and then slide it through the hole.
There you go.
Easy. So that's the first set, and then we're gonna have a second set about halfway between the first set and the ground. I like to have my the joint or whatever you want to call it, kind of where they meet, right at the pole right there, or the stake, so that when we have the nail and hammer, kind of goes right on the outside. That's kind of where you want it.
Yep. Second set of ties are gonna go halfway between the top ones and the ground. So right here, probably like right here. So I'm on the south side to the tree. Figure 8, finish sign, whatever your vibe is. And then buckle it in like a seatbelt in an airplane.
It doesn't have to be too tight. You just want to kind of make sure it's getting support and it's in the middle or not the middle, but straight up and down, because that's how we want the tree to grow. And they're really not going to, you know, prevent it from growing too much. They're not suffocating it at all. They're just there to support it. You know, sometimes you see people tie trees with like metal stuff to things. That's obviously bad because it's going to cut into the bark and stuff. This stuff is designed for keeping trees up, so it's not going to constrict them too much.
Perfect. One more. So if you guys have any questions about ties, please ask Cameron and Ashley here. They are professionals now. Please ask them to do all of them for you. Don't let them break. Don't have any breaks. Just keep on going.
So you actually nailed them in.
So we're gonna nail these guys in, yeah, just to make sure that they're only nailed to this part right here, just so to keep this up during the summer when it gets hot.
Yeah, right. So that's another reason why we stretch them out beforehand, right? If you leave them unstretched, then they're going to stretch whenever there's a big breeze or something, and then the tree's just going to be all loose. So
Yeah.
kind of just want to pre-stretch them.
So what we're gonna do now, while he's doing this, is I'm gonna show you guys how we do our water here. But just to give you guys a little heads up, after we're done with water and mulch, we're gonna name this tree. We name all of our trees. I'll show you guys a little segment that we do, but please think of a creative name. We've had really creative names in the past.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Really like it.
I think the one that we've gotten as my favorite is Mother Teresa. That's probably my most favorite one so far. So let's see if you guys can do better than that. I'll get back to you guys. I'll tell you guys. So keep thinking. All right. So now we have water. The water situation. 3 buckets of water. 3 green buckets of water. We have water stations kind of around this area. Oh, yeah. They got distributed. Never mind. I stand corrected. But we have 3 buckets of water. 15 gallons of water. A lot of water. We don't want to pour it straight on there, just dump it onto the ground like that. We want to break up the water. We want to emulate that of like rainfall rather than that of like a waterfall. And so, the way we do this is, it's kind of fun. There's 2 ways you can do this. The first way I'll show you is the hand method. Those of you who are here to take that pic for Arbor Day, this is a good time to take a picture. This is usually like our money shot. So you're gonna put the water like this. Put your hand like that, and just pour it right on top like this. You got me right there? You got me?
Again, recognize that the reason we're doing this is so that the berm doesn't erode, makes it easier for us to come back and water. A lot of times we'll just come back to a tree and there's no berm,
Yeah.
and you'll understand why it's dying, because every time we put water on it, it's just washing off to the street. So
The second way that we can do this too is if you don't want to get your hands wet, you can use your shovel. Put the shovel right here, right across the way like that, and you're just gonna pour it right into the blade, back of the blade, like this. Preferably away from the tree like this, so it's not eroding any of that good soil. And then now we have the fun activity together of watching water drain. Hope you guys are all ready for this. This is the best part of the whole entire demo. There you go. All right, now we gotta do that 3 more times. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, so we usually put 2 waters down, then we put our mulch down. But for the sake of brevity, I'm just gonna skip the second water to put the mulch right in.
I got it.
You got it? So this mulch that Garrett's gonna grab right now, mulch is very, very important to the survival of the tree. Not only does it protect it from erosion, but it also protects it from weeds and keeps the soil a nice good temperature throughout the seasons. And then as it breaks down, it becomes compost for that tree, giving it more nutrients in the ground, giving it some more nitrogen, more carbon into the ground. As you can see here, the methodology here is right where, if we're talking about the bowl situation, you want it right inside the bowl. If you're thinking about kind of like a ramen, it's where the seaweed usually goes in the ramen bowl.
You must be hungry.
Stay hungry, man. That's how I am. I stay hungry. I stay hungry. I don't get hungry. All right. So once you have our mulch down, we just have to pour the rest of the water in. Slowly. Don't put too much in because it'll start breaking your berm. Once the berm's broken, it's hard to get back from that. So be careful with that. And then finally, we have the name. So this is the time. The name.
Anyone.
Linwood Lorax.
Linwood Lorax. That's it. That's
The
pretty good.
Lorax.
Anybody
I'm
else?
glad
Anything
you
else?
gave me time to think about that one.
Yeah, that was good. that was a good one. What do you guys think? Lorax? Cool. So as we're finishing up, we have here this arbor guard. It protects it from any like weed whacking or any kind of like lawn mowing. It protects the trunk. So we're gonna open it up like a hula skirt, like that. Just gonna put it right on top, right on the bottom of the tree right here. And go ahead and push that in. Just like this. You know, there is like ways you can lock it in. Don't lock it in, so the tree can just kind of like break free when it's ready. All right, so now for a little ceremony thing. We're a hippie company. We started like in the 60s, 70s, so we're in that flower child type vibe. So we have this saying once we get our tree together and we're ready to name it. We usually all hold hands. We don't hold hands. I know time is right now. You don't gotta do that. Hold hands spiritually if you want to. And you're gonna say these words: trees need people, people need trees. Welcome to the world, Linwood Lorax. So repeat after me. Trees need people.
Trees need people.
People need trees.
People need trees.
Welcome to the world,
Welcome to the world.
Linwood Lorax.
Linwood Lorax.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys for hearing me speak.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're gonna get into our groups. Groups of 3, preferably.